Hello and welcome to the Enterprise Talk Conversation Series, a peer knowledge resource by the CXOs for the CXOs. Now to our host, Kanika Goswami.
Hi, we welcome you to our podcast On Stage with Enterprise Thought Leaders. My name is Kanika Goswami and I'm the managing editor of On Media's 6 B2B enterprise technology publications. We have engaging conversations with global thought leaders and industry experts, and these conversations reach 1.3 million business leaders worldwide, last counted. Today we have with us Maxime Vermeir. He is a Senior Director of AI Strategy at ABBYY. He has been adjudged the top artificial intelligence voice on LinkedIn. It's great to have you with us today, Max. Welcome to our show.
Well, thanks, Kanika. I'm really happy to be here and look forward to our conversation.
That's great. So a little bit of introduction about Max. With over 10 years of experience in the field of AI, he leads the creation and execution of the go-to-market strategy for ABBYY's AI technology. Max's core competencies include product vision and strategy, technology evangelism, customer innovation, and digital transformation. He is passionate about building and launching innovative products that solve real-world problems. Oh, we could do with a lot more of such people in the world, I guess. Okay, so his mission is to help customers and partners achieve their digital transformation goals and unlock new opportunities, of course, using AI. A little bit about ABBYY from you, Max.
Yeah, I'd love to talk just a little bit about what ABBYY does and how I'm contributing to purpose-built AI, because that's what we are all about. So ABBYY builds technology, AI, machine learning models specifically that allow our customers and partners to really expand into new use cases when it comes to intelligent automation. So that covers both IDP, so intelligent document processing, everything that has to do with making unstructured information that's locked away inside of silos of organizations into something that actually becomes actionable. And then, of course, we also have process intelligence, which is equally important because that allows organizations to uncover how their processes are working today, using AI to then look at which optimizations they can do, and then also making sure that they achieve operational excellence. So those are the two main pillars of what our company does, and it's a really exciting time to be in that space.
Clearly, because AI is all set to take over everything we do, or enterprises do so. You must be having a lot of fun working there, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pace at which it's all rapidly evolving, and like you said, we definitely need more of the productive use of it, the purposeness of it. So for me, it's really exciting times to look at what I can learn from everything that's happened both in the open source world, the research that's happening, but how we can actually apply that to business problems. That's an exciting kind of piece of the puzzle that I'm continuously focusing on. So hopefully today we can talk about some of those things and enlighten our audience that we've got listening in today.
We certainly will. So that's my first question. How do you see the adoption of AI changing in 2024? So here is a chance for you to talk about what you are looking at, expecting, which direction do you think it will make the most impact with all the work that's going on here at ABBYY and at other organizations?
For sure.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's been an interesting couple of months, years. The last, especially the last couple of months for me personally have been really interesting because I feel like the market is finally coming to a point of realization, right? After all of the inflated expectations, all of the hype that has been created, because a lot of people, actually so many people, suddenly had the technology AI in their hands with the introduction of ChatGPT, which really put a front end on the technology that allowed everybody to interact with it. That was basically the trigger. That made such a difference. And if you look at what that ripple effect of it was, that such a hype was created, but at the same time, there were a lot of people that were trying to look at, okay, how can we make this actually into something productive? So the market perception of that is really starting to change, in my opinion, where there was a lot of inflated beliefs and also a lot of increased expectations. Now people are starting to realize what they're really going to be able to do with artificial intelligence. That trend for me is definitely going to continue on in 2024, where we'll see increased utilization of what I would call purpose-built or focused AI. That really allows to have a context and also a specific domain of knowledge that makes it very specific to the business challenges that it's trying to solve. What we do at ABBYY is a perfect example of that. We introduced our large language model 5 years ago for the process of extracting data from documents. But there, we've trained it in such a specific manner that it's only good at that specific purpose. So the fact that these specializations or these smaller models are going to be more efficient and actually will become more popular or more adopted in 2024 is for several reasons. They're much more efficient when it comes to inference, so they're faster. They actually help you make the business case a lot faster. At the same time, they're less costly to train and also to actually maintain. And that actually also, of course, impacts the sustainability of the entire, the organization. And last but certainly not least, something that I think we'll cover today as well is when it comes to all of the compliance around artificial intelligence that is coming into place, both in Europe and in the United States now as well. Smaller models and actually specialized models have such a specific focus that they fall into a different category of all these regulations, which will make the usage of them a lot easier. So that's just one thing that I think will definitely happen in 2024.
Right. AI ethics, as in ethical AI, is often spoken of as a dangerous area to trend. So how do you see it panning out in 2024? There are regulations underway, governments are talking about it, industry experts are working at it. Do you think things are going to change? Do you think there will be actually the possibility of any control in the way AI is being used, being developed, or becoming a part of other technologies or whatever? Do you think things are going to get better?
Yeah, so if you look at the evolution, right? So, for example, Stanford University has been doing a lot of research when it comes to the transparency of these models. They've even created a specific group that looks at only that specific point. And although the transparency is increasing both from open source models as well as closed models, it's really interesting to see that that is still not a main focus point. So I think with all of the regulatory developments, meaning increased scrutiny from regulatory bodies, as well as the insurance that they are now providing that only specific data is being used, data that is not proprietary, that is not copyrighted, it's really becoming a focal point down the line. So in 2024, the ethics side of things will be further pushed out in the sense that it will be a more specific point of focus for everybody, all of the organizations in the different layers of usage and consumption. So when I think about, how it impacts, for example, the builders, such as ABBYY ourselves, we will, just like we had with cloud adoption when we moved to SaaS, when we first did that, nobody was asking for information security because that was simply not a focal point. It was more about the solution. But now we have these long lists of InfoSec questionnaires, SOC 2, Type 2, and everything else that comes with it if you just want to provide that type of service. As people and organizations learn, they'll also have more demands and expectations when it comes to the security of the technology that they're using. And this will become applicable to AI as well. Although I do think, in my personal opinion, that we'll have to respond to two different actors in this particular point of view, meaning that both from a compliance perspective of what customers will expect, at the same time, I think governments will have quite a lot of expectations as well from different, providers within the market, meaning that as a company who builds, you'll have to explain how you both, ethically and compliantly are making AI technologies, right? So that's important. And it's also that part that will mainly drive what I said before about the adoption of more specialized models, because they fall into different categories when it comes to legislation. At the same time, companies that are using AI, and actually it's interesting to see how quickly the adoption's happening even within the enterprise space of companies using it, will have to also provide that insight, that compliance insight into government bodies, as well as their own customers that will be asking questions. And then as the last step, consumers will just want to know, okay, how does this work? Now I am talking 2024 we'll see the first bits of it, but this will continue to evolve. So just like with everything else, when it came to cloud adoption, the first couple of questions that we got were maybe 5 pages. Now we're up to 100 pages of different questions that are being asked about where's the data moving, where is it coming from, how is it secured. All of this will happen with AI as well, and that will have a massive impact. Because if you think about, the way different sectors have to, comply with so many different regulations. I'm just thinking healthcare, for example. Recent studies shown that they are very interested in what kind of capabilities and advancements that artificial intelligence can offer them. But there are so many hoops that they have to jump through, rightly so, because they're talking about and working with human lives. It's incredibly important that it's coming from a space of transparency, ethics, and definitely legislation as well. So for all of those things combined, the ethical piece around AI will become much more prevalent in 2024. That basically that whole compliance and ethical will have to be built into the design of it. I think that's definitely going to be the main focal point that companies will have to look at. And we already can see that shift happening, right? You can see how OpenAI is responding to it, how Meta is responding to it. And I hope that kind of trend continues and actually even accelerates, because that will also have a big impact on the productivity level that we're going to be able to achieve when it comes to using artificial intelligence in all of its categories, right, in the enterprise.
And also, I think artificial intelligence companies are becoming far more responsible socially, as well as technologically. So they can be expected to keep holding up their end of the responsibility stick. So yes. In the meantime, what more functionalities do you see added to the AI experience in the next 1 year, and how will they add value to enterprise technology for businesses? What more is expected that you see in the next 12 months?
So I think we've already seen kind of an introduction to what will definitely happen in 2024. For me, one of the main productivity applications or productive applications of generative AI is going to be the Copilot system, where for example, if you look back at history, the adoption of different types of technologies, for example, 2007, when the iPhone was introduced, suddenly everybody, or almost everybody, had technology in their hands that just worked. It had an easy interface, it served a specific purpose, and it was really easy to use. That whole movement to ease of use actually then also permeated into the enterprise space, where before you had enterprise grade technology that had thousands of buttons and you really had to go through hours of training to be able to work with it. And usually when you wanted to deploy it into production system, you needed services from the vendor or their partners to be able to be successful. We went into the whole low code, no code, and citizen developer mode, where everybody, or at least a larger group of people, suddenly got access to technology and was able to build things themselves because it came easier. I think the next generation, or at least the next wave of technology, is going to allow us to communicate simply by conversation. And it's going to help us because it knows what we're doing and it knows the technology itself. So we'll be able to become that link, that bridge between the two. Again, opening up technology itself, whether that's AI, whether that's a specific platform, to an even larger group of people. So I think it's going to be very empowering for a lot of demographics that we have within our global world, but at the same time, people that are going to be just like with anything, with any new technology, people are going to stay behind. Some will get ahead, and some will find their way. But it's going to be an interesting thing to see how this next technological shift is actually going to happen and create waves within the workspace for sure. So that's what also leads me to say that I think there will be a lot of demand for explainable AI, right? So it's one thing to have AI built for a purpose, which is our, ABBYY's main focus, but at the same time, we also want to make sure also to comply with legislation, also to comply with ethics, that it's explainable, that you can actually, explain why it's making certain decisions, make that transparent and understandable and even visual in a certain way to make sure that whoever's using it doesn't have to go and be like, well, it's made the right call, but I don't know why. I think that will also help with the adoption of just this technology in general, because it will make a huge difference. If we don't understand it, we're as humans, we're automatically kind of like, well, I don't know what it is, so I'm not trusting it. I don't understand it. I'm not trusting it. And we've seen that, Abby's been around for more than 30 years. We've seen that with our technology. If we can't really explain how it works and why it works, then people are actually not really open to adopting it as quickly. So explainable AI is definitely going to be one of the other things in 2024 that will have a big impact on making sure that there's sufficient collaboration between humans and the technology itself, because that is definitely going to be the other big thing. I think if we look at the AI tools, and even just automation tools in general, where we had a very big focus in Industry 4.0 on simply automation, right? We wanted to make the organization better. Now with the shift to Industry 5.0 principles, it's much more about that we're augmenting people and actually helping them work faster, more efficient, but we're not trying to replace anybody. That's not the goal. The goal is to make very everyday mundane tasks that are quite cumbersome and not very fun to do, to actually make that a thing of the past and actually allow anybody to really focus on what we are good at as humans. Creativity, making sure that we can push the boundaries, push on to new frontiers, just how we got here today, and actually make an impact, make a difference in the world, both for the organization and the customers that we serve.
Opinion question. Do you believe in Industry 5.0 concept? If you do you think we are at 3.0 level or 4.0 level, or have we reached 5.0? And if we have, what role does AI play in it, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I don't believe we're at Industry 5.0 just yet. I think depending on where you look in certain sectors, in certain parts of the world, we're still very much, I would even say in the 2.0, 3.0, and some of them are in 4.0. And I think that is very, kind of vertical specific. If I look at transportation logistics, there's still so much to do there. They're so process driven, document driven, and they've had so much disruption with COVID. Nonetheless, they are still struggling to get to that point to even just Industry 4.0. Although a lot of parts, don't get me wrong, are automated. I've seen incredible warehouses where everything happens automatically, but the process itself in that industry, from having a good ship from one part of the world to another part of the world where it ends up at your doorstep, is so intricate. There's so many people involved, and all of it actually happens in terms of communication through documents. You think it'd be completely digital, but nothing is absolutely true about that. So I think in those areas, for just as an example, we're still very much in the phase that they're moving to Industry 4.0, trying to automate all of these things, providing insights into their organizations, their processes, and definitely unlocking all of the information that's locked away inside of those different silos of systems and as well documents. Because just to give you an idea, just to ship something from one part of the world over to the other side, that takes about 83 different types of documents that are handled by about 19 different organizations. That's incredible. And that's just for one thing that's happening every single time you order a package. So that just illustrates that, again, from, yes, Industry 5.0, I absolutely believe it. And I think we'll get there. As always, certain parts of the industry will get there first, or they will have a bigger focus on it. For me, I think definitely the organizations that are very customer focused, that serve end customers, will want to get there as soon as possible, because that is a very interesting space right now, in the sense that there's, again, expectations being created from the use of AI, the fact that everybody's been able to touch it, been able to play with it. And now there's expectations of how quick and how well a service should work, because you have this bot that you can just go talk to. You can go to a website and you can ask questions, and you get immediate responses. And those responses are expected to be really good. So I think in terms of that, the expectations, I think those are going to be the verticals where they'll reach that level first. But we still have long ways to go in several other pieces of the or different other verticals. I don't know what you think, Kanika. That you said open-ended question, so I feel like I can ask it back to you.
So I completely agree with what you're saying. There are certain sectors which are almost there, and there are many sectors, and especially in certain geographies, which we still have a long way to go. So yes, and that's a fact, and we all have to face it. Just because one technology is being developed faster does not mean it is being adopted and implemented also as fast. So those are the various ways. And what role does artificial intelligence have to play in it? So let me frame it this way. those industries and sectors that are getting it to Industry 5.0 faster, do they have a bigger component of AI or what?
Well, I think the ones that are getting there faster, in my opinion, have already taken the necessary steps to be able to leverage AI. And when I say AI, actually they've already leveraged AI to now be able to leverage generative AI, because I think that's a big difference. And I was actually in a conversation with a CTO from a company that develops technology for everything around procure to pay, invoicing, and everything else. And we were having a conversation about the fact that, how does AI impact the overall market and specifically generative AI? And I said that my conclusion, and actually I've been seconded about this by other people, is that the AI race is not going to be in who has the best technology, but it's going to be for the builders. It's going to be who has the best training data, and high quality training data. And actually, that's, for example, what we are very good at digitizing that, because although, we have a lot of information on the internet, not all of it is original. Not all of it is actually a copy of a copy of a copy. So to get that original data, you want to be able to use accurate AI models to give you that. And from the user perspective, the people, the companies that actually leverage AI, I think the ones that are going to have the ability to leverage it quickly and get to that Industry 5.0 vision that you just talked about, those will be the ones that have already taken the necessary steps to unlock all of that information inside of their organization. Because as we've seen from the early days when people started testing out with ChatGPT, for example, the hallucinations, things that it was answering questions but actually was making things up, that's all due to the fact that it was general knowledge and it's trained on the knowledge that it has, but it didn't have any knowledge about your industry, your specific business. And you want to make sure that you have that available so that you can do things like, for example, retrieval augmented generation. You're actually using your company data in combination with the reasoning capabilities of an LLM. So these are all things that will definitely help with getting there, and those will be the ones that get there first. But it's the ones that have already started on the journey, and there's no shortcut, in my opinion. You can't go from Industry 3.0 and you can skip 4.0 and get to 5.0. There's no way.
Take their own time. AI or
Yep,
no
absolutely.
AI. They are going to take their own time. And there are loads many other pit stops on the way. There will be regulations, probably, geopolitical, economic, all kinds of challenges and hurdles that they will have to cross before they reach there. Which is why I said geographies, because there's a lot of geographical segmentation because of the incidents which are happening. It is not always just the level of technology development in a country. There are so many other factors, right? So
Yeah,
that's
for
what,
sure.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
that's,
No, I would fully agree. And I think even just from a geographical perspective, there will be priorities and also for companies internally, there will be certain priorities that they have. And even though I see that a lot of companies are experimenting with artificial intelligence, once they get through that experimentation phase, they will go back to the mode of, okay, should we prioritize this because it has a positive customer impact? Or is this something that we want to do down the line because we have other more 3.0, 4.0 things that we have to do first to be able to get there. So I think we're definitely coming into the realization phase that a lot of people, companies are starting to get into. And I think that's a good place.
yeah. Now we'll talk a little bit about intelligent automation, the trends, and what do you think is going to happen. But my question is going to be, what should enterprises actually need to or look out for? It's not just a level playing field, a certain technology, X number of people adopt it, and hence X minus maybe one or two people are great at it, and they get a lot of benefits, revenues, market expansion, cost optimization, anything. But what are the factors that companies need to watch out for intelligent automation to be successful, or to the planning it, the structuring of it, the implementation of it, all of that? What do you say for that?
So, like you said, there's so many different aspects to it, to making sure that it's successful. Just to give you an idea, just from our own research, we see that about 70% of automation projects sadly fail or don't deliver the results that are expected, which is a vast number if you think about it. So, for me, one of my focus points that I talk about with my customers and my peers a lot is the fact that they should look for capabilities that have been built with a purpose by a vendor that you can trust, and that definitely is already, has been setting the scene, has been setting the trend for quite a while. What I've seen currently within the market is actually that there's so much noise almost, so much hype being created, functions being added, features being added, and capabilities being touted, that you start to question as a customer, okay, which ones do I actually need to fulfill the purpose, and fulfill the need that I have within my business? Because we're still trying to solve actual real world problems. We're not just creating technology for the sake of technology, at least not in the business world, right? You want to have a commercially viable product that actually serves what you're looking for. So I think that's a very important one. And helping people cut through all of that noise, helping people cut through all of the hype that exists around, these technologies and how they are being added to products or how they're being positioned, I think is really important, because otherwise there's a lot of pitfalls. I spoke to a group of data scientists just recently, and they said, well, we're going to build our own model for an understanding and retrieving information from documents. I said, that's great. Tell me what kind of use case is it? And they said, well, we have this particular set of text that's on the top of the document, top right corner, and it's always in the same format. So we're going to train a model, and then we'll be able to make a really good business case. I said, well, okay, that's great. So you're going to train a very complex model. It's going to be very heavy. It's going to be very resource intensive. And if you give me 5 minutes, I will write you a Lego expression that extracts that thing 100% every single time. And the fact that kind of boggled their mind, that everybody's so focused on leveraging AI for everything, is really interesting. And that's one of the pitfalls, in my opinion. So it takes experienced vendors. It takes people that actually look at this holistically, the whole thing. Like you said, there's so many different steps. There's planning, there's understanding, and then there's actual execution. That it's so important to look at it holistically and not be narrowed down, get that tunnel vision, because it doesn't mean that, this really great new technology is great. It's going to have a massive impact. It's already having a massive impact. That doesn't mean that everything else becomes obsolete, because sometimes the simple solution is still the best possible solution. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. That intelligent automation will continue to be the integration of various technologies together. AI is already playing a big part in that. It will continue to play a big part in it. But it's all going to be about finding the best possible way, the most efficient possible way, with the right purpose needs, to actually solve for the business case.
Now, a slightly more interesting discussion. We'd like you to share some use cases of deployments, or where you have really helped your clients with the power of artificial intelligence, I'd like to say, but it's up to you whether you want to call it the power of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, for sure.
Good common sense, where you can, apply a tool for a real life situation to be resolved. So please share some of those with us. And also, what were their operation challenges when they started off with, which they came to you with for the solution? So what did the implementation of ABBYY's intelligent automation products and services help them to do? How did it help them to overcome those challenges? So, the entire gamut. It'd be nice.
The entire gamut, everything, just cover it, start to finish. No, I'd be happy to.
Yes.
And no, it is all about AI. Like I said, ABBYY builds purposeful AI that is built for a specific reason, for a specific task. So I've got two use cases in mind that I'd love to talk about. And one is from JLL. They're a commercial real estate company in the US. And just like, a lot of companies, actually every single company, they deal with invoicing and payment processes. Now, of course, the bigger company you become, the more this actually takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of resources. And it's something that does at some point start to affect the organization itself as to, the flow of cash in, cash out. We all know how finances work. And especially when you think about, especially these bigger companies, they're always looking ahead, looking at what's coming. A lot of companies got into financial difficulties over the last couple of years due to COVID, due to crisis. And it's by actually looking at this particular part, which sounds really boring. It's invoices, it's procure to pay, but nonetheless, it's the beating heart of any organization. because that's your cash flow. So by trying to optimize that and actually making sure that they can be as efficient as possible in that particular process, so both invoicing and payment processing, they use our document AI to be able to extract any information they needed from any of the documents that were coming in related to the entire finance organization. And that really resulted, well, that was the question they came to us with, but just to, fill in all of your blanks that you asked me to fill in. So that was the question. They want to optimize this whole thing, simply for the reason that they saw it as low-hanging fruit. Just to be honest, it is low-hanging fruit. Every single organization has it. The invoicing capabilities, that AI piece is solved, in the sense that it's really out of the box. It's really easy to use, very easy to deploy. It's really low-hanging fruit, and it's a great ROI as a use case. And that's what they were looking for, because these cost savings and additional operational efficiency allowed them to then actually use the resources that it freed up, both monetary and people-wise, in other parts of the organization to go and tackle the next part of their transformation that they were looking for. So similar thing happened over at Carlsberg. Carlsberg, the beer brewery. If you've ever been to Amsterdam, I would definitely recommend visiting their factory that they have in the middle of the city. And it was really great to see how they went on this journey with us. So I actually was part of the conversations with them initially, where they had a COE that was looking for automation opportunities. And for them, you can think about it as a way, well, what is the most important thing for Carlsberg to happen is that somebody actually drinks and consumes what they produce. That's the most important thing. So what their task was, or what they wanted to do, was to make sure that was as efficient as possible. So the journey that we went on with them was automating the entire ordering process, from capturing orders from all across the world in all different shapes and sizes for all different companies, all different distributors, coming from all over the world, all document-based information that is very unstructured. But that led to the fact that we use our AI capabilities to automate that and extract all the information to integrate directly into their ERP system, meant that they had huge time savings in terms of also just the amount of processing time internally, so for the organization itself. So that was a big win, but also increased accuracy in the logistics. So we did actually make Carlsberg get their beer and their drinks into a fridge for somebody to enjoy faster than they could before. So that's real life impact, I call that.
And that will be a huge impact for beer drinkers everywhere, because if it's not chilled, it's not beer.
Exactly, right?
That sounds interesting.
So just to give you those two examples of really, more an internal process, how we can change that, but how that really has a big impact. And at the same time, how AI can have an impact, again, also actually on a very paper-driven back office process, but nonetheless, that has impact all the way to the end customer. So those are really great success stories.
Yes, yeah, really. And those are the kind of stories one can relate to. Because if you'd spoken about just a technology platform, then on ground, it's a little, foggy.
Yeah.
If that's a word I can use, I don't know. But this is something we can all relate to. Who doesn't know about a nice and chilled beer can? But it's a topic for another time. So those are the questions I had for you. Is there something we missed out? Because you know a whole lot more about artificial intelligence and its uses today, tomorrow, and the day after, much more than we do. So is there something that you'd like to share or add to what you've just told us about implementations, adoption, value given by AI? What to be worried about with the adoption?
Yeah, so like I said, I think I touched on it during conversation, is that definitely look for the value, that whatever technology that you're scoping, whatever technology that they're looking at or that is being presented to you, look for the value and the outcomes that can be delivered by the supplier of that technology. Like I said, I've played around with a lot of AI tools. All of them offer really great demos. All of them offer really great capabilities. Still, only a select few actually make it into my everyday workflow, because a lot of other ones simply do not offer me any kind of value or outcome that I'm looking for. So for me, if I can get any advice, as the research is continuing to actually move faster and faster. There's new experiments being talked about every day. I follow, for example, Hugging Face, OpenAI, and a lot of other tech companies, both in the open source space and the commercial space. The pace of development is continuously increasing. So I would say, definitely look for your trusted advisor, a company that actually can make that technology, that research into something that will help you solve for your business case and will help you have an impact on your customers.
That's actually the last word on what enterprise technology should be, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Max, for your time. It was an extremely enjoyable conversation. I hope our audiences who were on LinkedIn Live really enjoyed it, and the others who are going to see it on the website and on YouTube and elsewhere are also going to enjoy it. Thanks so much for that time.
Excellent. Thanks again for having me, Kanika. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Please do follow us on social media for regular updates and new content.